Well, welcome back, everybody. I'm going to jump into where we were before, which was the second part here, and this is chapter 2, part 1 of Our Tale Begins in section 1, Dusk, and there's some questions that we can keep in mind as we go through this chapter. Lessons for life. 2 parts. All of life is made up of 2 contrasting components: a quantifiable measure of external shallow accomplishment, and a qualitative and inward spirit of depth, purpose, meaning, and vibrancy. Okay? So again, what are the 2 contrasting elements of which life is made? The quantifiable measure of external shallow accomplishments. We can imagine some of those. How much? Who do I know? How much do I have? What have I done? And a qualitative and inward spirit of depth, purpose, meaning, and vibrancy. So we can always see where this chapter is going to go, because our lost child is, of course, most interested only in the qualitative and inward spirit. And the second question, what does Hashem most relish from us? While it is possible to maintain an avodas Hashem that consists of pure action alone, Rabbi Nachman teaches that Hashem delights in the desire of the heart more than anything else. He relishes the spirit of faith, passion, excitement, and youthful wonder that so animates the halakhic experience. So we're going to jump in now and see how we address those 2 main points of this chapter. Our tale begins. We left off. We're going to delve into this part. There once was a king who had 6 sons and 1 daughter. The daughter was very precious in his eyes, and he loved her very much. He took very great delight in her. So, who is the king? Rabbi Nachman begins the first of his tales by introducing a king and his 7 children, 6 sons and 1 daughter. Traditionally, whenever we encounter a king in a Jewish parable, it is a reference to the King of Kings, Ribono Shel Olam, the Master of the world. In our interpretation of the Lost Princess, we follow this assumption as well. Although, as stated in the preface, this book is devoted to exploring the psycho-spiritual insight of this story, not its mystical depth, in certain places we will need to touch upon some basic concepts of Kabbalah so that we might attain the deepest spiritual insight. While some of these concepts may seem challenging at first, we shall attempt to present them in a logical, down-to-earth, and practical way. So, what is behind that mashal, the story of the stained glass windows of divine expression? Stained glass windows of divine expression. The Mekubalim teach. These are the deep teachers, our greatest teachers. The Mekubalim teach that in order to make himself known to his creation, Hashem emanated the 10 Sfirot, the 10 Sfiros, 10 spiritual channels by way of which the world was created, and which continually reveal different facets of his absolute unity. Each of these Sfiros embodies a different aspect of the way Hashem expresses himself in governing the world and directing the path of history. The Ramak, that's Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, explains the foundational concept using the analogy of stained glass window panes. Just as 10 different colored stained glass window panes reveal various hues included in the all-encompassing sunlight, which would have been otherwise undiscernible to the naked eye, the 10 Spheros render different qualities of the all-encompassing divine light of Hashem accessible to the human mind. It is important to stress that, as this parable implies, the Spheros do nothing to detract from the absolute oneness of Hashem, Has v'Shalom. They are merely spiritual tools created to render the quality of Hashem's perfect unity comprehensible to our limited intellect. The 10 Spheros are Keser, or crown, Chokmah, or intellect, Bina, which is wisdom, Chesed, translated as loving kindness, Gevurah, strength, Tiferes, harmony, Netzach, eternity, Hod, splendor, Yesod, foundation, and Malchus, kingship. You notice I use the Ashkenaz way of pronouncing the Tav. So instead of, as an example, instead of Shabbat, I say Shabbos or Shabbos. Shabbos. So the Torah teaches that we are created B'Tselem Elohim. In other words, in the form, or we say the image many times, in the form of the way Hashem, who is himself infinitely beyond form. We are created B'Tselem Elohim in the form of the way Hashem relates to the world. The tzaddikim teach us the inner meaning of this concept, reflecting the 10 spheros. Again, instead of sphirot, I say spheros, a traditional way. Not the way modern Israeli Hebrew speaks, or it follows the Sephardic tradition of sphirot. But the tzaddikim teach us the inner meaning of this concept, reflecting the 10 spheros through which Hashem reveals himself in the world. The DNA of the soul consists of 10 powers that serve as the blueprint for both the human's inner makeup as well as his external appearance. So, that's one of the many interpretations of Tselem Elohim, the image of Hashem found among the Rishonim, the early interpreters. Okay, on the level of emotions, our inborn capacity, for instance, for chesed, kindness, enables us to act with unrestrained kindness and love to our fellow man. Again, this is one of 10 of the major aspects of how we view Hashem, or in this mashal, this metaphoric interpretation, the stained glass, 10 different colors. Gevura, or allows us to exercise restraint, strictness, or anger when necessary. Our inborn capacity for Tiferes is the seat of confidence and pride. Often Tiferes is beauty. So another example, like we embrace our children with kindness, with chesed, but if we give them too much unrestrained kindness and love, they won't have any discipline. They'll be just like out of bounds. So we bring in Gevura to give them a channel within which to grow. So Netzach is the garment through which our souls drive towards survival and the experience of eternity is expressed, and Hod allows for submissive gratitude and praise of Hashem and others. Yesod expresses our desire for social interaction and having a positive impact on the world, and Malchus is our capacity to receive and reciprocate. This system finds expression, physical expression as well. The human skull is a manifestation of Keser, or Keter, the crown. This is the highest level. The mind with its 2 hemispheres is the vessel for the mental spheros, Chokhmah, holistic thought, and Bina, the ability to delve into particularities of an idea and draw parallels and distinctions. The heart consists of 6 emotional spheros, Chesed and Gevura, which manifest in the right and left arms, respectively, Tiferes, which manifests in the torso, Netzach and Hod, which manifest in the right and left legs, respectively, Yesod, or foundation, which manifests in the area of the bris, and Malchus, which manifests in the mouth and its capacity for speech, as well as in the mate. So concerning the 10 spheros in this way gives us a better understanding of how they manifest in the human experience. The 10 spheros, which enable the unity of Hashem to express itself in the realm of multiplicity, find expression in the various powers of the mind and heart, which reveal the multifarious functions included as one in the unity of the soul. Created to allow the mental and emotional capacities of the heart and mind to come to expression, the body mirrors the inner 10 spheros included in the soul of man. Again, when we say we're created in the image of Hashem, this is one of the ways in which we can imagine the human body itself as a manifestation of these. So I'll close by giving an example of each of these 10 spheros in comparison to a psychological manifestation versus the physical or body component. So we go from Keser down through Malchus. We go through desire, which would be the skull, intellect, Chokmah, intellect, which is the right brain, a holistic level. Bina, interpreted as wisdom, intuition, which is the left brain. Again, Chokmah, the right brain or logical, the left brain, artistic, the wisdom and intuition. Unrestrained kindness, this is the right arm, Chesed, the restraint, Gevurah, the left arm. Confidence or truth, Tiferes, also often translated as beauty or balance, that's the torso. The right leg, Netzach, dominance or endurance, sometimes called victory. Hold, or the left leg, submission, praise. Yesod, this is the procreative area. Everything channels down through here, the connectivity, impact, or the bris. And finally, received by all in our world today, Malchus, the mouth or the mate, which is receiving and reciprocity. So again, we'll come again next week, more in depth as to how these manifest and the difference between the 6 sons versus the princess. The 6 sons being more the masculine versus the princess, the feminine, and looking for our own inner child, which is more of the feminine manifestation of Hashem and ourselves in this world. And continuing here from where we left off, we were going through the differences in the psychological manifestation versus the physical manifestations of the 10 Sefirot. There's countless books throughout the ages of delving deep into this, and I would encourage anyone who's interested to learn more. The most basic text probably that came out was called Inner Space by Aryeh Kaplan, who also, as I mentioned in an earlier class, was one of the first to give us an English rendition of The Lost Princess. Both of these books are published by Breslov Research Institute. Inner Space was edited by Aryeh Kaplan, Abraham Sutton, after the passing of Reb Aryeh Kaplan. So the 6 sons, the quantity of daily accomplishment. The Breslover Mashpitim, these were the early ones, Mashpiim, teach that when Rabbi Nachman speaks of a king and his 6 sons, this is a reference to 6 of the 7 lower spheros, through which Hashem reveals himself to the world. Chesed through Yesod. So this is like the core, the torso, the main body, from a right arm, left arm, torso, right leg, left leg, and through the foundational or genital area we call the bris, but it encompasses both for the male and the female. It's the same, it's that area. And this whole area, everything channels through there. The light of the upper 3 spheros, Keser, Chokmah, Bina, then channels through these 7 that are so the skull, the right brain, the left brain, the upper 3, channels through the rest of our bodies, and down into this world, or Malchus, which is also discussed, as we discussed, is like the mouth. This is why the importance of when we speak, how that manifests into the world in which we live, the Malchus, the kingship of our life here on earth, in this life. So the 6 sons is comparable to the quantity of daily accomplishment versus what we spoke earlier about the one daughter, who would be the quality. And again, we're in search of that qualitative aspect of ourselves, our life, our purpose here on this earth. So we're asking now, as we learn that this is how Hashem reveals himself through the world, the 7 lower spheros, Chesed through Yesod, and that these 6 traits serve as it were, stained glass windows to allow Hashem's all-encompassing infinite light to express itself in a way that allows it to be better understood. In the same manner, these 6 inborn spheros allow our soul to express her ethereal essence in a perceivable way. So where are these again, how do we find these? So the king had 6 sons. Hashem implanted the functional capacities of the lower 6 spheros within the soul of each and every Jew. And with what are the masculine traits associated with? For instance, when taken all together, what are the expressions of these male traits? So in the Kabbalistic literature, masculinity is associated with extroversion and overt influence. The right row of the Sephardic array, or Sephardic array, the midos of Chokhmah, Chesed, and Netzach, which is right brain, right arm, right leg, are male spheros. The Chokhmah is revealed as the initial burst of intellect in a creative process, Chesed as the unrestrained desire to give, and Netzach as an overwhelming and dominant element in interpersonal relationships. These are the masculine associated traits. Similarly, taken together as a single unit in contradistinction with the final sphere at Malchus, the first 6 of the lower 7 spheros are seen as a masculine force. So we have the right side is seen masculine as compared to the left side, which is more the creative, and the boundary, the creative being the Bina, wisdom and intuition, the Gevora, which is the restraint, the boundaries, and Hod, the submission or praise, the glory. So there's always a right and a left, a masculine and a feminine. We are like the bride to Hashem, so Hashem the masculine, us the feminine, and then us, our feminine nature, how we relate to Hashem as the bride of Hashem, certainly on Shabbos, and then also within the 10 traits that we have the way of looking at it from a male side and a female side, or altogether we are all female in relation to Hashem. So there's many different aspects and worlds within worlds. Again, in the emotional expression, the spheros from Chesed to Yesod, all of these are the seed of action and accomplishment. This maleness, what begins as a drive toward unrestrained giving in Chesed, culminates in Yesod, the channel which actualizes this extroverted ambition. That Hashem is the ultimate giver, we the receiver, but then our role is to give, and in particular the male within our species is the giver, the female being the receiver. In their physical expression, the 6 spheros are also manifested in which directions? Related to the directions of the world, north, south, east, west, up, down, which point and extend outward. This again goes into more in depth in the book Inner Space on page 75. And this is how we wave the lulav on Sukkot in the 6 directions. Again, outwardly. This is our work in the outside world. Because the 7, so where are the 7 reflected in this world? Because the 7 lower spheros serve as the general blueprint for our, say, physical reality, they are reflected in patterns of 7 scattered throughout nature. So I'm going to just go into the footnote here a little bit. The first 3 spheros, the mochin, represent the hidden energizing force of creation, which is beyond time and space, which infuses nature with spiritual vitality. Many of us feel that. We open ourselves up, whether from a sunset or a more in-depth time spent in nature. There's some essence that we feel in the natural environment, and the more natural, the more we feel. Anything from a garden, which would be the most tame outdoor environment, to extreme wilderness. So this is why, as the Maharal so often writes, the number 8 denotes transcendence and miraculous power. For instance, in the miracle of Hanukkah, the laws of nature were altered for 8 nights. This idea is also connected to the Brit Milah, which is performed on the 8th day from birth and represent our ability to transcend our physical desires, as well as the 8 strings of the tzitzis that enable us to do so, to stay focused on a transcendence. The author demonstrates the relationship between the sub and lower spheros and the days of the week by finding their energies reflected in the particular elements introduced during each of the original 7 days of creation. For example, the creation of the first day light reflects the positive giving nature of Chesed. On the second day, the firmament was created, hardening upon Hashem's decree, an aspect of Gevurah, rigidness and restraint, Yiras Shamayim. The third day saw the creation of a tremendous diversity of plants. This is blanketing the earth in a way of color, an aspect of Tiferes, which denotes beauty and harmony. And on the fourth day, the sun and the moon were created, allowing for the cyclical continuity of nature, an aspect of Netzach, or endurance, and so on, regarding the creation of the other days. So this was what's reflecting the 7 days of creation.